guys, what's up? It's Raven. Fun fact: peaches and nectarines are basically the same fruit except for one gene which determines if the skin is going to be fuzzy or smooth. So peaches have fuzzy skin and nectarines have smooth skin, but they're pretty much the same fruit otherwise. On another note, though, today we're going to be talking about dating and relationships again. I did talk about dating and relationships in my previous episode. If you have not heard that episode, definitely go listen or watch it if you like to watch it on YouTube. But that was kind of just like dipping my toe in. That was just like barely talking about a few specific elements of like my current or like recent dating experience. That was not covering everything at all that I feel about dating right now. That was not covering my whole entire recent dating experience at all. It was just, like I said, dipping my toe in, just kind of, easing my way into this topic because there is a lot to discuss when it comes to this topic. I have a lot to share. I have a lot of opinions when it comes to this topic. So I knew that I was going to have to do, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 to, the whole dating and relationships series. Is probably going to be a series on this podcast. And I felt like a good way to kind of like do a little accelerated, get to know me, accelerated little session of like, let's just answer a bunch of questions real quick would be to do like a Q&A style situation for this episode. So that's what I decided to do. I went on to Raven Elyse podcast on Instagram at Raven Elyse podcast. If you don't follow me, you should follow me. That's where I ask you guys questions and where I'm going to get you guys to kind of interact with the podcast. So definitely follow if you're not already. But over there on that Instagram account, I put a little question and answer thing and basically just asked y'all to ask me questions when it comes to dating and relationships, period. Now, when I say dating and relationships, that is a very vague umbrella term that covers a lot of different things. And that's why I said like, this is going to be a multi-part series on my podcast, but I just kind of wanted to answer like y'all's most pressing questions just off top. So I'm literally just going to bring up y'all's questions. I have my phone here. I'm going to bring up y'all's questions and answer as candidly and honestly as I can. I have not pre-prepared any answers. You guys said that you guys liked the unpreparedness of my previous episode, so I'm just kind of rolling with that. And yeah, I mean, let's just jump right in, without further ado. Let's jump into the conversation and answer these questions. So the first question is, how would I describe my ideal man and my ideal relationship? So just to get y'all caught up to speed, I am single. I'm not currently dating anyone. And so I'm kind of in that phase of like trying to think about what I want in a man and trying to see what I'm even looking for. And I talked about in the previous episode that I don't really 100% know what exactly I'm looking for. And I think that's a huge part of the problem, if you want to call it a problem. I mean, to me, being single is not really a problem, but more on that later. But if I had to try to describe my ideal man, first thing that comes to mind is honesty and maturity. Honesty/maturity. Because I feel like if you're really, really mature, honesty kind of comes with that. You know what I mean? Being able to be transparent, being able to communicate like an adult, being able to speak up no matter what it is, no matter what's going on. Like, we need to have an understanding. We need to have a sense of transparency between us. I don't ever want to feel like I'm in the dark. I don't ever want to feel like I have to pry information out of you. I don't ever want to feel like you're lying to me or you're being sneaky in any type of way. Like, that's just such an uncomfortable feeling in a relationship that I have felt time and time again. I do have PTSD in that way. So honesty/maturity is the first thing that comes to mind. On a more lighter note, sense of humor is huge to me. Somebody's personality, when it comes to their sense of humor, are they able to genuinely make me laugh? Like, not that little pity laugh, like, I guess I'll laugh because this is awkward. No, like, can you literally make me cry laughing? That's what I want to know. That's a big thing that I look for, that I'm like attracted to. And then another big thing is just like, do you have your shit together? Like, honestly, and I'm tired of feeling apologetic about this one. And I've decided that I'm not going to feel apologetic about this. You need to have your shit together. I'm talking about, career-wise, that's hard to say, career-wise, financially, your goals, your priorities, like your day-to-day life, your lifestyle, your habits. Who are you and what are you doing and why? does it make sense? Is there a direction? Is there a meaning? Is there a purpose? Is there anything to it? Like, do you have your shit together? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you taking care of business? Do you have your shit straight? At least for the most part. I'm not asking for anything magnificent necessarily. I'm not asking you to be a perfectly just polished and just everything in your life is just perfect and amazing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, are you doing good? At least, are you okay? Are you okay? Is basically what I want to know. If you're not okay, if you're just really not okay, I'm sorry, but I don't want to date you, because why would I want to invite that into my life? Now that's controversial. That's controversial because people will say, like, well, everybody goes through things and people don't have their shit together for outside reasons. And like, that's not fair, because even people who are going through things, even people who are not okay, they still deserve love. And like, that's not fair. Like, blah, blah. No. Okay, cool. That's cool for you. If you want to be in a relationship with somebody who's just all over the place, their life is just chaos, things are crumbling apart around them. If you want to be in a relationship with somebody like that, good for you. I do not. I want to be in a relationship with somebody who has stability in their life. That would be the main word, stability. So yeah, those are kind of like a few basic things. Of course, there's like other little stupid things as far as like what I'm physically attracted to and stuff like that, which I feel like y'all already know that, so we could just skip over that. Next question. What are my biggest turnoffs or red flags when it comes to dating? Basically everything opposite of what I just said. Lying, being sneaky, being weird, acting like you don't want to tell. Like, I can just tell when somebody is lying by omission. It's like, you're not really telling a lie, but there's something that you're not telling me. You know what I mean? You're not easily giving up information. I ask you a question and you're kind of like beating around the bush. Like, I don't like that. Why are you being weird to me? You know what I mean? So any kind of dishonesty, anything where it's like, if I bring up something a little bit more serious, or I have a concern, or I come to you and I want to have a important conversation, something's bothering me, and you just act like, this is awkward, I don't want to talk about this. Why do we always have to have these, like, you're just repulsed by serious conversations and you just feel like you're doing too much, and like, why can't we just chill? Why can't you just chill? Because we're adults. And adulting is full of seriousness, okay? These conversations need to happen. And if I come to you with a serious conversation and you're just like you can't handle a serious conversation, you can't handle the fact that I want to bring up certain things, that's a red flag, and that's annoying. Also, again, opposite of what I said, not having your shit together. Again, I'm sorry, this is controversial. I am not attracted to somebody who don't have their shit together these days. I'm just not, because I have a lot going on in my life. And why would I want to invite chaos into my life when I already feel like my life is already stressful in a lot of ways? I need peace. I need you to bring me peace and stability. If you're going to be bringing me anything, bring me peace and stability. Don't be dumping your chaos into my already full bucket. That's a turn off for me. Again, I have to just decide that I'm not going to be apologetic about that anymore, because it's kind of controversial. Next question. How to know when you are giving love a chance versus wasting your time? I believe, and this is coming from experience. This is coming from, mistakes that I have made in my past. I believe that giving love a chance, sticking it through thick and thin. Things may not be perfect right now, but I'm gonna stick beside him. That's my man, and I'm gonna stick beside him, even though we might be in a low point. I feel like a tough time, a rough patch should be more so defined by outside uncontrollable sources, outside effects on your relationship. Something is going on outside of you two that is making life difficult, that is making your relationship difficult. Work related stuff, family related stuff, sickness, whatever, like uncontrollable outside things. You could give love a chance when there's tough times in that sense. But when there's tough times that are coming directly from the other person is doing something, acting a certain way, or not doing something that makes you feel like, oh, this is kind of tough, but I just want to give him a chance, give love a chance. No. For what? Why are you waiting around to see if this person is going to start treating you better or start doing the thing that you need them to do? There's how many billions of people in this world? How many? And this is something that I had to learn. There's how many billions of people in this world, and you really, really think that this one person has to be the one person and you just have to stick with them and wait for them to get it right. I'm sure there's somebody else out there who could have gotten it right the first time if you would have continued looking, but you stopped looking because you wanted to just be with this one person and wait it out. I don't know about that. I don't know if that's really giving love a chance. It sounds more like you're wasting your time when it comes to that. Next question. You spoke about money being an issue in your dating life. How does it arise as an issue? Great question. So this is piggybacking off of my last episode because this was a big thing that I was talking about in my last episode. Just kind of like having the experience of dating someone who did not make nearly as much money as me. Let's just be blunt. I was in a place where I was seeing a lot of success as far as my career and my finances, and I was on the up and up with that. And the person that I was with was like pretty much in the negatives. And it goes back to what I was saying. It's like, if I'm in a mental headspace, I'm in a place in my life where I am, I'm on a roll. I'm seeing success. I'm working hard. Things are working out for me. Okay. We moving on up. And you just kind of behind me, literally dragging along. You're weighing me down. You are. And again, I'm going to keep saying this is controversial because some people feel like this isn't a fair way to look at it. But how I look at it, the reality of it, my actual experience was you are weighing me down. You literally cannot keep up with me. You cannot keep up with my lifestyle. There's certain things that we can't even do together because you can't afford it. So if I want to do something with you, I have to pay for all of it the whole time. I have to be the one to kind of take the initiative to plan anything, go on a vacation, even just going on a date, even just going out to eat. It's all up to me. And that can really weigh somebody down physically, financially, and emotionally. If you're just feeling like you're leading the relationship because of finances, basically. You know what I mean? If you don't have your finances straight, there's not much that you can really do in this world, unfortunately. Money makes the world go round. So it almost starts to feel like you have a child instead of a partner. And now I know what it's like to have a child. So I can really make that comparison. Like, I feel like you are my child. I feel like I'm taking care of you. I feel like I have to worry about you. I have to support you. I have to drag you along. I have to encourage you to get your shit together, to get a job, to keep a job, to get another job because you quit that job. You're asking me to invest in your business. You're asking me for money. Like, this wouldn't be happening if we were in the same tax bracket. None of this would be happening if we were in the same tax bracket. If you were making just as much money as me, everything that I just said would be an equal playing field and none of those problems would exist. Now, some other problems would probably exist, but that's just kind of my experience with it. Next question is, do you ask your mom for dating advice? Yeah, I do. There was definitely a point in time where, like, back in high school and even like I would say most of college, I felt really kind of shy around both of my parents when it came to dating relationships. It was just kind of like uncomfortable. We didn't really have that type of relationship where we just talk about everything with each other. It was very much so like, you are my parents. I am the child. We're not besties. We don't have unfiltered conversations. And so it was just kind of always like a little bit awkward for me to bring that stuff up with either of my parents, like even my mom. But towards like second half, end of college, I started to get closer to my mom because I started to have a lot of crises where something major was going down that had something to do with the relationship that I was in. And I knew that I basically had nowhere else to turn but my mom. And so I would literally come running, crying to my mom and be like, I don't know what to do. This just happened. What do I do? What do I do? Or I'm just so depressed, or I'm this, or I'm that. And just be having these like emergencies, basically these breakdowns, and felt forced. As uncomfortable as I used to be, at that time to talk to her, these issues came up where it was like, too bad if you're uncomfortable. This is like an emergency. You need to talk to your mom. So after that kept happening, that kind of brought me closer to my mom. and kind of helped me get past that awkwardness of like feeling awkward about talking to her about stuff like that. And so nowadays I don't really feel nearly as awkward. We do have more of an open book type relationship. We do talk about those things. And so if anything does come up, like I do feel like I am able to talk to her more and ask her for advice. I don't always ask her for advice though, simply because, and this is going to sound so cliche, but it's simply because I feel like dating nowadays is so different from how it was back in her day. And I already know that all the older people, all the people from her generation are going to be like, no, Raven, you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, some things might be different, but the basis is still the same. You should listen to your mom because she knows what she's like. That's what the older generation always says. That they always try to like defend and be like, yeah, things might be a little bit different, but you should still listen to us because it's basic, the basic principles are still the same. We still have a lot of experience. We still have a lot of good information to share. And that might be true to, a certain extent. That's definitely true in some cases. But I just personally feel like the older generation a lot of time does not realize just how different things are with modern dating. You're talking about my mom when she was dating, when she was a teenager, when she was in her 20s, even when she was like in her 30s, social media did not even exist. It wasn't even no social media. When she was a teenager, it wasn't even no internet. Like she didn't have any of the same stuff that we have that has really changed dating for us. And then also too, just like the way that like, I don't even know. I feel like I need to do a whole separate episode on this, but it's like, I feel like even in my own lifetime, I have experienced a shift in the culture of like American youth, like maybe even African American, like the Black youth seems like there's been a huge shift in like the way that we just are as people, like the way that we interact, the things we do or don't do. Like, I don't know how to I need to really think about this. And like, this is something that I need to actually take notes on and prep for if I'm going to do an episode on this. But it's like, I just feel like things are so different culturally, socially, technology wise. Things are so different compared to when my mom was dating. And so a lot of times when I'm asking her for advice, it's just kind of like, yeah, but no, like that's not how things work anymore. She'll tell me to do something and I'm like, nobody does that anymore. Or she'll be like, well, why didn't you because we don't do no, like her advice can sometimes feel outdated. So yeah, I do ask her for advice, but that was my long way of saying, yes, I ask her for advice. Yes, definitely. Sometimes she gives great advice, but other times it's kind of like, that doesn't really apply these days. Next question is, am I interested in getting married and having more children? I should have answered this question first because this is the most pressing question. I have probably gotten this question 300 times a day, every single day, morning and night, ever since I first told y'all I was pregnant. This is the main thing that everybody and their mama wants to know about me for some reason. I get this question so much. Do I want to get married and do I want to have more kids? Now, my initial response over the last, 5-6 years, ever since I had Zaya, my initial response to this question, especially do I want to have kids, I would immediately say, yes, I do want to have kids. Yes, I do. I definitely do. I definitely do want to have more kids because I would always say I never saw myself just having one child. I never saw myself just having an only child. I always imagined myself from a young age. First of all, I always imagined myself having kids, period. And I always imagined myself having at least 2 kids, maybe 2, 3. I don't know. As I've gotten older and as I've actually had the experience of having a child, I'm like, okay, maybe just 2, maybe not 3, maybe just 2. But yeah, for the longest time, I would just instantly say, yes, I want another kid for sure. And a big reason why I wanted to definitely have another child after I already had Zaya, and once Zaya got to be, 2, 3 years old, I was like, yes, I definitely want to have another kid just because I didn't really like the way that Zaya being an only child made me feel or made her feel. It felt like it was having a negative effect on both of us. It felt like being an only child is not the best thing. Of course, I can't speak on everybody's experience. I'm sure there's millions of only children out there. There's probably an only child listening right now that's like, I love being an only child. It was so great because this and that. I'm sure there's, a lot of people who love it, a lot of parents who love just having one kid. And there's definitely, a lot of positives to it. But just when Zaya, like I said, when she was 2-3 years old, I just was noticing I felt like she was so lonely, and I felt like she was developing certain personality traits that maybe she wouldn't have developed if she had a sibling. And because I'm not an only child, I have 3 other siblings. I have a little sister who, I grew up the closest with my little sister, then kind of, my older brother. Then I do also have an older sister who's kind of a lot older than me. But especially me and my little sister, I grew up having that experience of having a little sister. And I feel like that had a huge impact on my childhood, had a huge impact on the type of person that I turned out to be, had a huge impact on the lessons that I was learning throughout my childhood. Simple things like how to share a space, your sister is your first friend. You know what I mean? It's like socializing, just certain things that you learn through simply just having a sibling, whether you like it or not. And to see Zaya not having those experiences made me really sad. And so my whole thing was like, yeah, she gonna need a little sister. She needs a little sister. We need a little sister in this family because it just feels incomplete, basically. But over the last year or so, I have realized how that's actually a little bit toxic, maybe a lot toxic, to think that way, because it's kind of like you're thinking about your child as not as an object, because I want a child because I don't know. It's not like I want a child for just a little play toy, just a little pet, just a little object to fill in space. No, if I was going to have another child, there would be a lot of thought and love and devotion involved. But still, it's just kind of so you're going to bring a whole nother child into this world just to kind of fit your personal agenda, just to kind of fit your personal fantasy of how you want your family to look. That's a whole child. And the real thing that kind of made me change my mind is recently I've been seeing a lot of people speak out on how having kids these days in the year 2021 and beyond is almost kind of some people will say it's flat out evil to bring a child into this world with the way that the world is right now and with everything that's going on, even just global warming. People are saying that, 40 years from now, the earth ain't even going to exist because it's going to burn up and melt away, and global warming, it may sound crazy and it may sound like some crazy conspiracy, but depending on what you believe in as far as the government and global warming and different things like that, it's why would you bring another child into this world? Because what is the world going to look like 30, 40, 50 years from now? What is their life going to look like? We're going to be gone. You know what I mean? They're going to be grown and we're going to be gone. So we're not going to be the ones experiencing it. And so I don't know. It really makes you think. It really makes you think. As much as you might want to bring a child into your family, into your house, and into your loving, safe household, you're not just bringing them into your loving, safe household. You're bringing them into this world, and they are going to grow up to be an adult, and you're not even going to be there after a while. And then it's they didn't ask to be here. And what if the world is literally melting away because of global warming? And now they have to deal with that just because, I wanted her to have a little sister. I don't know. It's a lot to think about, and it's kind of crazy to think about, but I've been thinking about that recently. I'm do I want to bring another child into this world? Maybe not. Maybe not. So I don't know. I'm unsure. I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to say we're going to see what happens. Now, as far as the marriage thing, I also feel like this needs to be its own podcast episode. Y'all let me know if y'all want that or not, but I have interesting feelings about marriage. I got a lot of questions, but just basically saying do you even believe in marriage? Kind of no. Okay, let me set the baseline. The basis of my feelings about marriage stem from the fact that I am not religious. Clearly I'm not religious. I can't even say the word. I'm not religious. I do consider myself to be a spiritual person in my own way, but I'm not a Christian. I don't pray to Jesus Christ. I don't I don't label myself as any certain religious or certain religion. Oh my God, I can't talk, or anything like that that would have traditional ties to marriage. The way a lot of people, you know, if you're a Christian, if you're Catholic, whatever you are, you have certain traditions and certain kind of like expectations and things that go along with marriage. Marriage is very sacred because of your religion. There's a lot of things that you will or won't do in a relationship because, you know, you have certain almost like rules or expectations when it comes to like getting married first and stuff like that. I don't have any of that. I'm not religious. I don't subscribe to any of those beliefs. So from that perspective, I have no reason to care so much about marriage from that perspective. So that already is kind of like one strike against marriage for me. Second strike against marriage for me is my financial status. And I hate the fact that like every question comes back down to financial status, and I'm not trying to like make everything about that or, you know, make it seem like every 2 seconds I'm trying to wiggle in my financial status. Like I hate that, but it's true. Marriage back in the day, not even back in the day, it wasn't that long ago, that marriage was a necessity for women, especially because of the rights that we did not have as women, because of the opportunities that we did not have as women. You pretty much needed to get married to survive. A lot of times it's like, you better link up with this man. You better link up and marry this man because he's the only one who can get a good job. He's the only one who can really make good money. He's the only one who's allowed to even have a bank account, who's allowed to even buy a house and stuff like that. So if you're an unmarried woman, you can't really do a lot of things for yourself. That's how it was not too long ago. It's obviously not like that anymore. And I'm able to have a lot of rights and freedoms and opportunities, which have allowed me to gain the success that I have and the financial freedom that I have. So I have no reason when it comes to that side of things to get married either. From the, you know, legality, you know, as far as like sharing assets and dividing up things, like the legal side of marriage and that more sort of like business contract aspect of marriage. Why would I do that? What reason do I have to do that? I have no reason. I have no reason to want to legally link up with anybody. If anything, that's going to be a risk for me. If anything, I'm putting myself at risk. I'm putting my financial freedom at risk. I'm tying up all my stuff that I worked hard for with this other person. I don't really know what this other person about to do. And if anything, it's a risk for me when it comes to that. So no. I mean, of course, let's say if I was marrying a freaking billionaire who's doing much better than me, then you could say, well, you know, there's your benefit. But like, I don't need that. I don't want to be a billionaire. I don't feel the need to be married to a billionaire and like have access to all those assets. I have more than enough assets that I'm happy with right now by myself. So from that aspect, why do I need to get married? So that kind of only leaves you with, you know, and I'm factoring in everything as far as insurance, as far as anything that would have to do with like, you know, for example, if you marry someone, your spouse a lot of times is the first one to be able to make any medical decisions for you. If you go in a coma, your spouse is going to be the one who gets to say if they pulled the plug or not. I don't feel like I need a spouse for that. I have family. I have amazing friends. I have other people around me who I can put in place to like make those emergency decisions for me if need be. I don't feel like I have to have a husband for things like that. I don't need a husband for insurance purposes. I don't need a husband for buying a house purposes. I don't need like none of that stuff. Any of that type of stuff. I don't know how to label it, but any of that type of stuff I don't need. So that just leaves you with the aspect of just the union, the love. Forget the religion, forget the legality, financial, insurance, forget all that part of it. What about just the union? What about just the sacred union between two people? Just the committing yourself to a man for the rest of your life. You know, you don't even have to have like a normal wedding. You could just have a commitment ceremony and kind of just, you know, be married in that sense. And like, I get that. And I guess that's the only part that I still kind of sort of believe in. I still, like, a little piece of me still believes in the commitment. A little piece of me still thinks that maybe I would want to be united with a partner in that way. Maybe I would want to get married just simply for that reason and that reason alone. A little tiny piece of me believes that. Little tiny. Because the majority of me believes that when it comes to that lifelong commitment, that is the dumbest concept that I've ever heard. You're going to take two ever evolving human beings. You're going to take them when they're just at a certain point in their life. I'm at this point in my life. He's at this point in his life. We come together. We meet each other. We feel like we mesh really well. We feel like, okay, this is working. We make a great partnership right now because all we have is right now. All we know is right now. Okay, so let's just lock in for the rest of our lives. Huh? You don't know what's about to happen. You don't know how you're going to change as a person. You don't know how he's going to change as a person, whether he is meaning to or not. You don't know what kind of outside things are going to happen in both of y'all's lives that cause both of y'all to change and want to go down a whole different path with your life, want to completely change your lifestyle. You might want to follow a whole different religion. You might want to move to a different country. You might decide that you want to join a cult. You might decide that you want to become a serial killer. Like, you don't know. People change so much. I read a quote a long time ago that I really believe in that always sticks with me is that you become basically a whole new person every 7 years. Most people change so much that it's like 7-year chunks. Every 7 years, it's like you're a new person. Not everybody is like that, but a lot of people are like that. And I've seen that just even in my own life. If I think back to who I was 7 years ago, and then I try to imagine who I'm going to be 7 years from now, I couldn't tell you. I could tell you who I want to be. I could tell you what I'm going to try to be, but nobody knows. And so to me, this concept of like, well, we like each other right now, so let's just join for the rest of our lives. The rest of our lives should probably be fine, right? No, like that, the likelihood, to me, it's the likelihood that this is going to actually work out for you. The likelihood that y'all are actually going to stay on the same page. The likelihood that y'all are going to stay in love. The likelihood that y'all are going to remain having the same morals and the same beliefs and just be on the same page in any type of way. What is the true likelihood of that? Very slim. And clearly it's very slim because look at the divorce rate. And not even, let's look further than the divorce rate, because there's a lot of married couples who just don't get divorced for whatever reason, but are miserable. And you may say that I just have a negative outlook on it because I'm just being negative Nancy and I'm not taking into account all the happy married couples. I know that happy married couples do exist, but part of me is just like, yeah, y'all happy right now. Y'all are happy right now. And then there are the rare ones who are like, well, we've been married for 35 years and we're more happy than we've ever been. Okay, great. But I think that that's the exception. I think that it's rare. Is it possible? Yes. But I think it's very, very rare that actually is going to happen for a couple. I think what's more likely to happen is that you are going to grow and you are going to grow apart. And you are going to grow tired of each other. And you are going to grow tired of these little issues that you first started off with that seemed like they were, manageable at first. 10 years later, I'm tired of this shit. I'm out of here. That's what I see happening time and time and time again. I cannot tell you how many people around me have been divorced, maybe been divorced even more than once, because it's like, it's only good for so long. Y'all are only on the same page for so long. So to me, as sad as it sounds, it just doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And marriage, this whole idea of marriage, this whole idea of lifelong unity, commit. And it's like, also too, we have kind of this societal, cultural norm where it's like, it's usually done at a pretty young age. You know what I mean? Most people kind of get married, at least the first time that they get married, a lot of times is between the age of 20 and 35. You know what I mean? People are usually relatively young when they first get married too. So it's like, that's even more of a reason to think that this isn't going to last, because you're going to change. Both of y'all are going to change. But also just the simple fact that marriage as a concept, this whole concept of getting married, having a wedding, signing your marriage license, all that stuff. When was this invented? Who invented it and why? What's the real reason why? Let's dive into that. because I feel like there was some hidden agenda there, that if we look deeper into what the real purpose of marriage always was from the beginning, it may not be all roses and diamonds like how we think of it. And I just honestly believe from a biological, scientific, socio-economical standpoint, it makes no sense to try to take two different human beings and lock them together for a lifelong contract. It just makes no sense. I don't think it's natural. Basically, I don't think it's natural. I think it is something that is very, very forced a lot of the times. And I don't know. I flip back and forth because part of me feels like, oh, well, Raven, you're just being so negative. And the reason why you're being so negative about it and you have such a negative outlook is just because of where you are in your life right now. And because of your past dating experiences and stuff like that, it just causes you to have this really tainted, negative, nasty view of marriage and stuff like that. That may not actually be, it may not actually be that bad. Maybe I'm just looking at it from, a twisted perspective because of where I'm at in life. I'm self-aware enough to see that as a possibility. I'm self-aware enough to see that maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe I'm just being overly negative right now. And maybe I will change my mind when I get to a better place in my own dating life. You know what I mean? I'm open to that possibility. I'm open to changing my mind. That's how I am with pretty much anything. Well, most things. I feel a certain way right now. These are my beliefs right now, and here's why. But I'm aware of the fact that I could be wrong, and I'm open to changing my mind. So that's how I feel about marriage. That was a very long explanation. Like I said, I feel like it needs to be its own podcast episode. Well, maybe not now because I kind of just explained everything, but I feel like I could even dive deeper into it if I kind of sit down and sort my thoughts out. So the next question is, am I open to dating men outside of my race? I definitely wanted to touch on this because I did get a couple of interesting messages in response to my last episode when I said that I'm usually attracted to Black men. I said I'm not always only attracted to Black men. I've definitely been attracted to men of other races, other ethnicities in the past. And I'm not saying I will never, be attracted to anything other than a Black man, but usually 9 times out of 10, I'm attracted to Black men. But yeah, I am open to dating a man outside my race. I'm open to, like I said, I'm a very open-minded person. I know that's very cringy to say about myself, but for the most part, I feel like I'm an open-minded person. I'm open to the fact that anything is possible. Don't count anything out, never say never type of attitude. I just think that there is something to be said about the way that two different races interact with each other and kind of just the cultural differences and how that could make it difficult to have a really deep connection with someone. I do wonder sometimes when I see interracial relationships, not that it's impossible and not that it's a bad thing, but sometimes I wonder, on the topic of race and culture and racism and things like that, how does that work between y'all? You know what I mean? And I can see how it could be actually really rewarding to have two different people and be able to kind of learn from each other and be able to share cultures back and forth and things like that. That sounds really fun to me, but it also sounds a little bit difficult in a way. So I don't know. Never say never though. Yes, I am open to it. Next question. Why did your relationship in 2018 end? And did you have to explain it to Zaya? So I'm going to skip over the first part of that question just because, and I, take a shot every time I say this, but I feel like that needs to be its own podcast episode. I've been saying that as far as just going into a little bit more detail about why my last relationship ended, what I learned from that, the whole shebang with that. I do want to talk about it, you guys. I really do. And I really do plan on it. It's not a quick little story that I can just say oh, this happened and that was the reason. It's a long story. So I hate to leave you hanging on that, but just the second part of the question, as far as did I have to explain it to Zaya? Luckily, no, I didn't. Not really. Just because Zaya was 3 years old? No, it was right before her 3rd birthday. It was literally right before her 3rd birthday. And so she was just kind of still too young. She was too young because when, obviously she's 2 years old while I'm in that relationship. So she's not even old enough to understand what a relationship is. She's not old enough to understand mommy has a boyfriend. This is mommy's boyfriend. All she understands is this is a person in my house and I like this person or I don't like this person. I want to play with this person or I don't want to. Like, she just has a very limited, as a 2-year-old, you have a very limited understanding of those types of things. So she never knew that I had a boyfriend necessarily. She was too young to understand that. So for that reason, I never had to explain to her that I didn't have a boyfriend anymore. Of course, she did definitely notice that he wasn't around, especially it was kind of weird. It took a while for her to like speak up on it, like it was like literally like a whole year later. She just randomly brought him up and was like, where's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, why are you asking about him all of a sudden a year later? Like, it really caught me off guard because I was like, wait, you still think about that? You're still wondering about that? And I just was like, I kind of played it off. I didn't really fully answer her question. I just was like, oh, he's wherever far away. He's at his house. You know what I mean? I was like, he's at his house, where else would he be? And just like change the subject or whatever. We didn't have a conversation about it or anything like that. She maybe brought it up like one other time. And again, I kind of just brushed it off. But for the most part, when it comes to like explaining my breakup and explaining what happened, she just was too young. So I kind of got lucky in that sense. Next question is, how many boyfriends have I had since having Zaya? Just one, which is the one I was just talking about. When would I let my partner meet my family or meet Zaya? So I definitely have updated my rules for myself when it comes to this. Ever since my last relationship ended, I definitely have a new way of thinking about this, just because I'm realizing now that Zaya is older. With that relationship, she was young enough for it to not really matter as much because, again, she was too young to really understand what was going on anyway. Now she is definitely old enough. She is definitely old enough to notice what's going on, understand what's going on. She now does understand the concept of boyfriend and girlfriend. She does understand those types of things. She will be able to notice those types of things. She gonna notice if all of a sudden this person is not coming around anymore. She's definitely gonna ask me. Like, she's older now. She's 5. So if I were to get in another relationship and introduce the guy to her and start bringing him around her, and now they're building a relationship and then we break up, that's going to be a heartbreak for her as well. If she, became connected to him, that's like a breakup for her too. And so I have to be really careful with that. And so I can't really put like a set time frame, like 4 months, 6 months, whatever. But it's just like, I don't think that I am going to start bringing a new guy around Zaya until I feel like this is going to be an extremely long-term relationship. Now, you know what I just said about marriage. So I don't really know if I even see myself getting married necessarily. So I can't really use that as like a defining thing. Like, once I know that we're going to get married, then I'll enter, because it might not be getting married. But just the fact that like this is super, super serious. I know this is going to be long term. You know what I mean? Like, I have to really, really wait and really vet the person and really make sure that this is going to be long term before I introduce Zaya, because I don't want to be introducing somebody and just taking people in and out of her life. Like, that's really confusing and really upsetting for her. And I kind of feel like, why do they need to know her? Especially with my thoughts on marriage. This is going to sound a little bit off the wall. With my thoughts on marriage, realistically, I kind of just see myself like not getting married and just kind of like dating for the rest of my life. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but I kind of see myself having a few long-term relationships for the rest of my life. Does that make sense? Like, realistically, am I going to find someone today, fall in love with them, and be with that person until I die? I don't really think so. I just don't really believe that. I believe it's probably going to be about 3, 4, 5 more partners that I have. And it's just going to be these chunks of time with these different partners. And I think that can be okay. And as Zaya gets much older, it's going to be easier to actually have conversations with her and explain that to her so that it's not so confusing and so just tumultuous and where'd this person go and blah, blah, blah. Like I'll be able to have open conversations with her so that she understands like this is how relationships work. You know what I mean? And so I kind of just, I don't know. It's for that reason, I kind of feel like while Zaya is in this, if I start dating someone anytime soon, while Zaya is 5, 6, 7 years old, I kind of feel like if I don't really believe in marriage and I don't really see myself getting married, and so therefore we're not going to get married and and I don't really care as much about having more kids anymore. So we're not necessarily going to get together and create a family unit and have more kids and blah, blah, blah. I'm kind of just dating you. As bad as that sounds, like I need to be able to explain this better because I feel like I'm not doing a good job explaining it. And y'all gonna be like, what are you talking about? But like, if we're kind of just dating, I don't want to say just dating because it can still be a very committed relationship without being married and without having more kids and without making a promise that we're going to stay together for the rest of our lives. You could still be in a committed relationship for now. You know what I mean? And still have a lot of love and trust and maturity in a relationship without all those things, I think. And I also feel like you can still have a committed relationship and have that without them knowing my daughter or being around my daughter all the time. Like, why do you need to be around my daughter all the time to be with me? You're in a relationship with me. I take care of my daughter on my own. Like, that's separate. You don't necessarily have to come in and step in and be stepdaddy. You know what I mean? You're in a relationship with me, not her. And I think a lot of times moms feel like it has to be both. It has to be like combining the two. Like, well, if I'm going to date you, you're dating me and my daughter. Like, you're coming to be a part of our family. Like, do they have to come be a part of your family? Or can y'all have a relationship and then you have a family separate? Again, I know that sounds a little bit wild, and I can't even say that it fully makes sense because these are just new things that I'm still thinking about. And I will say, I think it's safe to say that I have a very modern view of relationships. Again, I am not religious. I am not traditional. I don't believe in all the a woman is supposed to do this and a man is supposed to do that and you're supposed to get married and you're supposed to do that and God wants you to do this and that. Like, I don't believe in all that stuff. I just simply don't. I have a different view of relationships, especially due to my past experiences. So, that's just kind of, I have to put that warning out there. I have a different view. Like, oh, I'm so quirky. Like, no, I'm not trying to sound like that, but like I do. So I don't know. I kind of see myself being in a unique situation in the future. So to answer the question, when am I going to let them meet Zaya? Maybe never, if that's possible. I don't know. What is my biggest lesson that I learned from my past relationships? The biggest lesson? Listen to your gut. Maybe I would have to say listen to your gut, because a lot of times that intuition, that gut feeling, it be knowing what it be talking about. It be knowing something will happen and you'll be like, man, I had a gut feeling. I had a gut feeling that wasn't right. That wasn't true. I knew I shouldn't have. How many times, I'm sure all of you listening, how many times has that happened to you? Whether it be in a relationship or not, just with anything. Listen to your gut. I feel like that's what I learned, amongst a lot of other things that I learned, but that's like a big thing that I learned. Does anyone ever really heal from being cheated on? Does some part of that carry into the next relationship? I think definitely it carries into the next relationship. I know for me, I can't speak on anybody else, but I can speak on myself. I have been cheated on. That was another question that I got asked. Have you ever been cheated on? Yes. In every single relationship I've ever been in, I've been cheated on. Let me repeat. In every single relationship that I have ever been in my whole entire life, whether it be high school and beyond, I have been cheated on. And I know what it feels like to go into your next relationship with that baggage. And for me, yes, it does create, a sense of baggage. It's up to me to do my own healing and not bring so much toxic baggage into the next relationship. That's a personal journey. That's my personal responsibility to work on myself. But even still, it's like, it's not even so much baggage, it's knowledge. Yes, baggage does come with it, but knowledge comes with it. You bring that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience into your next relationship. Maybe not so much when you're younger. I know for me, I didn't really gain too much knowledge and wisdom the first few times, clearly. But these last couple times, definitely gained some knowledge and wisdom that I'm bringing into my next relationship. And so, yes, I'm keeping an eye out. Yes, I'm keeping an eye out for Selena. You feel like I'm treating you unfairly because, I'm treating you like you treated me like your ex. I'm not your ex. I'm a different guy. But you're still a man, and I'm still keeping my eye out. I'm sorry. That's how I feel. So yes, you do kind of bring that past into your next relationship. Rightfully so. I think rightfully so. Next question, in my opinion, is there such a thing as having too high of standards? I think the only time that your standards can be defined as being too high is when you are asking for something that you could never do. If the person could turn to you and be like, you could never do that. You don't even have that. You don't even do that. Then why are you asking them to do that? That's when I feel like your standards are too high. But as long as everything that you're asking for is equal to what you would provide or what you what you would be able to do, and maybe it's not the exact same thing, but something kind of equal value. You know what I mean? Like I bring X, Y, and Z to the table, so I'm asking you to bring A, B, C. It's fair, it's equal, it's balanced. Then I feel like there's no problem with that. And if you hold yourself to an extremely high standard, then you are allowed to hold your partner to an extremely high standard because that's only fair. Next question was, when did I know it was time to go? What was the last straw in my last relationship? The last straw. Again, I can't even just tell y'all what the last straw was because it's not going to make any sense unless you know the whole background story to it. So I promise y'all I will tell this story in an upcoming podcast. Next question, should I really be looking at my partner and I's zodiac compatibility? Now, me personally, I do believe in astrology. I do look at compatibility. I do ask, what's your sign? What are your big three? I do be going in on the apps, seeing I think it's interesting. I've had a lot of experiences where it's like, it's spot on. It really is spot on. It really feels like it has a lot of truth to it. Is it everything? No. There's so many other factors that define who you are as a person that are going to define your relationship other than your zodiac sign. But I think it's like a little fun, interesting part of it. And so I would say, yeah, why not look into it? If you believe in astrology, then yeah. If you don't believe in it, then, whatever. Next question. Do I think social media has negatively affected how relationships work? Yeah, I think social media has negatively affected almost anything you could think of. There are pros and cons. It has positively affected everything. Not everything. I think I'm getting tired. I'm starting to slur my words, y'all. We're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon. But social media has had a lot of positive effects on almost everything in our life, but it equally has had a lot of negative effects on those same things. It kind of just depends on how you use it. You know what I mean? Social media is a tool. You can use it for good or you can use it for evil. And that goes for relationships as well. So it just kind of depends on the person and how they are going about it. But yeah, it could definitely have a negative effect. Do I feel like the time is ticking for me to get into a relationship versus ending up staying single forever? No, I don't feel like time is ticking. I don't feel like, I'm 28. I got to hurry up and get in a relationship because, I got to be in a relationship before I turn 30. I'm about to be 30. I'm about to be old and shriveled up. Like my biological clock is ticking because first of all, what I just said about possibly not having any more kids. Okay, so who really cares about the biological clock? Plus, there are other ways that I could have a kid if I really I could adopt, things like that. But I do not feel like time is ticking to hurry up and I have to get in a relationship because I'm 28. I see people all around me start fresh new relationships when they're 45, 55, 65 years old. And that could be their best relationship to date. You know what I mean? So I don't think that time is ticking. I think that is a social norm, a cultural norm, cultural pressure that is placed on us to feel like we have to hurry up. And if you're not in a relationship at a certain age, then you're a failure and nobody wants you. And it just has such a negative, connotation to it. But I don't believe in that. No, the time, there's no time limit on it. Trying to make it work with your baby daddy. That's just what it says. Trying to make it work with your baby daddy. I don't know exactly what this person means by this question. Like, am I trying to make it work with my baby daddy? Or are they asking for advice on how to make it work with their baby daddy? I'm not sure. But no, I am not trying to make anything work with my baby daddy. Just answer that question. What do I think the difference between dating and being in a relationship is? Again, like I said earlier, I have kind of weird views on all of this, but I would just say dating is kind of just going around having fun, meeting people. You can date multiple people at the same time and it shouldn't be a problem. You know what I mean? I'm getting to know people. I'm just living life, having fun, socializing, you know what I mean? Going on dates, having a good time, having conversations, whatever you do to get to know somebody. Versus being in a relationship is we have decided to join forces and lock together in some kind of way, whether that means we're exclusive. So we're only dealing with each other. We are committed to each other, whether that means we are going to start creating like a family unit. We're going to live together. Like it's just kind of locking it down with one person, or at least making some sort of solid agreement with that person. Because some people are poly, you know what I mean? Some people, it doesn't always have to do with monogamy and exclusivity. But it's just really locking it in and being like, okay, I choose you. What's our agreement going to be? After you had that conversation, I feel like that's when you have officially moved from just dating around to actually being in a relationship. Somebody asked how to bring up serious conversations without ruining the mood. I hate this based on what I said in the beginning of the episode about my red flags and my pet peeves. If I need to bring up a serious conversation, I don't care what time of day it is, what we got going on. If this is pressing, if this is serious, if this is important to me, I should be able to bring it up no matter what. And I shouldn't be worried about ruining the mood or like getting a negative reaction from you, because that's a red flag. Why am I not able to speak my mind freely? Why am I afraid? Why do I feel nervous, anxious? Why am I worried about ruining the mood when I'm trying to bring up something that's super important? I should be able to bring it up at any given time. I should feel safe. That's what it is. I should feel safe and secure and comfortable enough to bring up a serious conversation at any given time. If I do not feel safe and secure to do that because you're making me feel some type of way, or I'm worried about how you're going to react, that is a red flag. Run, sis, run. I'm telling you. Do I have any fears about dating and having a daughter? This is another one that, like, we're at the end of the episode now, and I definitely should have answered this towards the beginning, because this is a big one. You know, what does it really mean to date as a single mom, especially having a daughter specifically? Again, broken record. I probably need to make a whole separate episode about this, but just to kind of dive into it, yes, I have fears. I have a lot of fears. Simple stranger danger. Simple fact of what I said in the previous episode about meeting somebody new and you don't know that person. You're trying to get to know that person. You're taking their word for it with a lot of stuff, but you don't really know that person. Meaning you don't know how they're going to treat you, but you also don't know how they're going to treat your daughter. If you choose and when you choose to introduce them to your daughter, you do not know if you can really 100% trust them. Point blank, period. Even if you have been with somebody for years and you feel like you've known this person for so long and you've built up trust, how many horror stories have you still heard of something happening to an innocent child, even though the mother knew the man, they've been married for however long? Like, it really doesn't matter. You really can't ever fully trust anyone when it comes to that. So yes, it's very, very scary, which is why part of the reason why I said earlier with kind of my weird explanation, like maybe I just will never create that connection again. Maybe I just will never allow that access again. Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary for me to allow a man, the man that I'm dating, access to my daughter at all? Is it necessary? Right now, I'm feeling like no, because I can't really think of one good reason why I should have to do that or would have to do that. You know what I mean? I should be able to have my own adult relationship with this man and kind of still have that barrier between him and my daughter. I think it's possible. I think it's doable. And so, yeah, that definitely kind of ties into the fact that, yes, I do have fears about dating with the daughter. And it's more than just that. Again, you know, separate episode, but it's more than just that. It's okay, so what if I do introduce them? What kind of, it's a lot. It's a lot because I don't like the idea of some strange man, because at the end of the day, that is a strange man coming in and having an effect on the way that my daughter grows up, having an effect on the way that she is raised, having being not an inspiration. What's the word? I can't think of the word, but him always being around and kind of rubbing off on her. Do I really want that? I don't know. It's a lot to think about. It's really a lot to think about. And again, that's why I'm kind of in this space of well, then I just won't do it. I just won't introduce her to anyone else, because why do I really need to? And the last question that I am going to finish off on is, and I'm laughing, even though this is a very serious, valid question, but they said, maybe you're a lesbian. I too was very picky when it came to men. Turns out I was just gay. Valid, based on a lot of things that I said in the previous episode, based on a lot of things that I've even said in this episode, based on things that I've tweeted about, based on my past experiences, based on just my general feelings about men in general. I can see where somebody would be like, Raven, do you even like men? Do you even like men? Are you gay? Maybe you just need to be with a woman. And let me tell you, if I were gay, I think that there would be not much of an issue with that. My family, accepting. They literally wouldn't care. I don't have a problem with that. I would never be scared to, quote unquote, come out of the closet to my family or to my friends. I feel like I'm kind of surrounded by LGBTQ plus people. I feel like I'm somewhat knowledgeable about those things. I consider myself to be an ally. I consider myself to be, I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, if I were gay, I think I would have no problem just being gay and just saying that. And I would have said that a long time ago if that were the case, because there's no outside source holding me back from just saying that. And I don't personally feel any sort of way, any sort of internalized homophobia, as far as a lot of people kind of deal with internalized homophobia and kind of don't want to admit to themselves that they're gay because they just kind of don't want to be gay. They kind of just feel weird about I don't want to be that, but I know deep down that I am. I don't really feel those feelings either. So said all that to say, I believe that I am heterosexual. I believe that I am straight. Unfortunately, literally, it's kind of unfortunately, I am straight. Unfortunately, yes, I am actually attracted to men. As far as sexual attraction, romantic attraction, I am attracted to men, unfortunately. If I were gay, I would just be gay, and that would just be that. But I'm just not. Now, again, as with everything else that I said, never say never. I don't know. I may discover something later on down the line. I may meet someone. You don't know. You never know. You literally never know. But just where I stand right now, I'm not gay. I just have had really bad experiences with men, and men piss me off. But at the end of the day, I'm still attracted to men. Can't live with them. Can't live without them. But yeah, that's the last question that I'm going to answer for now. Hopefully this was kind of, helpful as far as, getting all those main questions out of the way and kind of setting the scene to dive into some more specific topics in future episodes. In future episodes, I will definitely kind of just pick one topic and go into depth about just that when it comes to all these different things. But I just kind of wanted to do this first just to kind of set the scene for that. I know I kind of left some cliffhangers in this episode, so just stick with me, y'all. I promise I will get to those things. But yeah, that's all I have for this one. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.